So in this video we are using the 10-minute resin, the polyurethane, and we are going to be making this super cute trinket tray. We're going to make a bookmark, and I also show these off. These pendants are made in exactly the same way as this. Let's go. Right, we're back. This is either going to work or it's going to be a joke. So we are going to be trying to make a little trinket dish that might not look like a trinket dish at all. So this is using the polyurethane resin. You can do this with normal resin. I've seen bowls and stuff made. I don't know how you'd get the crinkle effect, but yeah, we're just gonna try and make something pretty. So I've done quite a bit of experimenting with this 10-minute resin, and I must say it's pretty incredible what you can do with it. Now there's a lot of negativity, and well, not negativity as such, but there's but it's always white, and I mean we can flip that into positives. I mean, I've made these awesome pendants using it, and the white and the copper really works well. I've done white with gold. I've done lots of different colours. Here's a white with gold. I've tested it with chameleon powders. It works. I've had to colour the resin black. It takes quite a bit of black mica powder, I must admit, but they do cure solid. It goes like a grey colour, but it does work. I have tried also with the nail powders that you've seen me use in previous videos on my stone effects. They're not brilliant, but you can dust the moulds, you can colour the resin. I had a little experiment that went wrong with a butterfly. It kind of overspilt, but you can colour the resin different colours. This is what I mean about the black. It can go grey. You do need quite a bit. Right, enough of that. Oh, and I've made these bookmarks. Similar way to how I made the last video, and similar way to how we're going to do it in this video. And they really do create, it really does create some stunning pieces. That is really, really the best bookmark I've ever made. And it dries. It's really strong. With normal resin, what I found with stuff like this is it's really bendy for quite some time afterwards. I mean, I made this one yesterday. It's got a bend and a flex to it, but it goes back to its original form. So it is really durable. But what I will say about some of these bookmarks and stuff that I've made is it's a good idea to seal in the back like I have on this one, because sometimes the inks just don't cure in time with the resin. I mean, take this pendant for example. It's fully cured, but only on the back, not on the front. If I wipe that, you can see just some of the copper is coming off. Just a quick top coat would probably seal that in. Well, it would seal that in. So what you see before you is a larger coaster and a smaller coaster. So we're going to make our piece in this, and the trick is to make it pretty thin. So you can see I've got my two mixing cups for part A and part B. Again, just label them up. I've got my pipettes. I'm going to skip most of the boring stuff because you've seen AA. No, we don't want AA. We want AB. And I've got my larger mixing cup to just mix the two together. And I've given up with the A's and the B's on the pipettes because they come off. So what I've done is I've just rested them inside the box next to the corresponding bottles so I don't mix them up. So as I mentioned before, don't panic with this stuff. Get your equal parts measured out in their little cups and you'll be fine. It's just a case of mixing them up and then just pouring it. So I'm going to continue just measuring out what I need. And once you've filled one part, make sure you don't drip any of the other part into the next pot. You'll also see I've got my leveling table out. It's not spot on, but it's better. than without, because you don't want it too thick on one side compared to the other, because it will be harder to manipulate. So once you have your two parts measured out, ready to mix, this is where you can just get prepared. So I'm using the copper. This is fluids. They're similar in the US. So this is a UK only product, I do believe. But I do need to shake this up before I use it. So if I go mixing that together, I've then got to worry about timing, because I need to shake and drop this. So just think a little bit further ahead. So once that's shaken, I can now just start mixing my polyurethane. Just tip them both in. And again, they say around 60 seconds. I was about to say 60 minutes of stirring. Don't go stirring this for 60 minutes. You wouldn't be able to, because it would set within 10 minutes. As always, massive shout out to my channel members. Anyone who's bought me a coffee or a super thanks. Thank you very much. So again, we're just mixing this until it's streak free. You will feel the cup start to get a little bit warm, not hot. So don't panic about it getting too hot, as that's not an issue. This really is fun stuff to play with. Just make sure there's no drops on the side that aren't mixed. Okay, I think that is good to go. I can feel it getting warm now. Now I can take my copper alcohol ink and drop that into my mould. And then I'm just going to use the copper. I'm not going to use the black as well. And then I'm just going to pour over that copper, which will give us a nice marble effect. Again, I'm not going too deep. If I want to add more in the gaps, I can just go in now. I have time. It doesn't set that quick. It does, but not that quick that you need to panic instantly. So I think that's about right. So what I can do now is, with any leftover, just use that in this bookmark mould. It's always handy to have something on the side to pour into with this stuff, because you don't want to waste it. And if I need to top it up at a later date, I can. As long as I cover my inks now. Plus, I want to seal this in anyway. So it is now starting to get a little bit thicker as I'm pouring that. Sorry, my hand is in the way. Can you see that? Yeah. So I can always go in with a thin back coat on that afterwards. So now we just need to wait for the magic to happen. I'm going to stir in a little bit of this now, just so it doesn't come off as much. And this will be the bottom anyway. Just try and mix some of that in so there's less chance of it rubbing off. This could go so wrong. Right, we'll be back in 10. So that is the 10 minutes up, and it's pretty firm in the middle, but around the edges we've still got some clear areas. Now if I try and demold this now, it's just going to be a bit tacky, so I'm going to give it a few more minutes. Okay, I'm hoping we're good to go now. I gave that another 3 minutes. It's still a little bit tacky around those edges. I think that's due to the metallic, but I can always trim down anything I need to, or sand it, or whatever will make it right. So here is the form, and it's still very soft. So I'm just placing that into the other coaster mold, and I'm just pushing down, begin in the middle, and then just work your way out. And we're getting this, starting to get this form that we want. I hope this works. Now I'm just working my way out to the edge of the mould. Just hoping I've got it centered. Can we move it? If not, let's flip it over and look. It's not. So I can quickly, I should have done that to begin with, shouldn't I? Flipped it, got it centered, and then turned it back. Now it's centered. We get there in the end. Don't want any bubbles. And then we're just going to start to crimp and work our way round. I think I might be a little bit late for this now, but we're going to keep going. And just hope it doesn't go back to its original shape. It looks a bit more like an ashtray. It's not what I want. I'm just going to go back on it now. I think I'm messing up the shapes that I've already done. Never done this before. Right, I think I'm going to leave it at that and just let that dry for another 5 or 10 minutes. I think there's some areas that just aren't holding their form. You're probably shouting at me that there's an easier way to do this, but I can't hear you. Right, I'm going to keep doing this. So what I've done now is I've taken it out, and all I did was kept going round, and it's actually holding its form. I just kept going around pinching the same areas. So I'm using my middle finger and my thumb and then pushing down with my index finger. And I just kept going round. Now I've taken it out the mould just to make sure that it's level and it's not going to rock or anything like that. So I'm just going to let that fully cure now until it's rock solid, and then we can finish it off. But I'm really for my first attempt, really happy with this. It does look like a little bit like a dodgy old ashtray, but you can do yours however you like. Whilst we're waiting for that, I've just mixed up a small amount more. I'm just going to back coat this. I think it is just an issue with that copper or gold. And I'm just going to use... Where have these been all my career, my YouTube career? Everybody kept saying to me, "Dan, buy the silicone tip ones. They're much easier." I'll tell you what they are. I wish I'd got them a long time ago. Just make sure that's all up against the edge. Really easy to pick off the resin off these afterwards as well. And then just let that cure. It was going to take a little bit longer than 10 minutes because it is so thin. And it's typical, I can't find my edging marker, so I'm going to make more work for myself just for the video to make it look pretty. So I'm going back to my needle tip bottle with the glove over it so the UV resin doesn't cure, and I've got the Let's Resin copper. I'm just going to dilute some in with some UV resin and just draw that on around the edge and cure it. And there it is. It's always good to have everything prepared before you start filming. And then, as shown in previous videos with this, we just draw it on and just go round. Well, at least with this it won't wear off. And you can always label this up and store it away for another day. It won't cure. Stick it in a dark place, well hidden, and you can use that for edging next time. Genius. So there it is, all finished. Looks a lot less like an ashtray now. The copper is a little bit off to the copper that's in the bowl, but I think it just breaks it up a little bit more. It looks ceramic. It actually looks like a real dish, and it's solid. Good to go. As always, give the video a thumbs up, drop me a comment if you haven't subbed. Hit that button for me. As always, all the links are in the description box below. Be sure to use the discount codes. And that is the bookmark. I absolutely love the gold with the black, or the copper with the black. So the hearts that I showed are done in exactly the same way that I did this. Just drop the copper into the mould and then pour the polyurethane over the top. And you get some really stunning pieces. I thought I'd try this, so I've stitched it onto the end of the video. This is really cool. So I used Azure Blue alcohol ink, exactly the same way that I made the copper one. And I just edged it with a gold mica instead. And that is absolutely stunning. I wish I'd done this one now instead of this one. It just reminds me of that old antique plate that your nan or granddad used to have hanging on the wall. Right, I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now.